It's the age-old thing that we always do for the world. We always end up bailing it out of its situation.
Okay, John. What's up, John?
What's going on?
You're in Costa Rica, man.
I'm here.
Yeah, John's here.
There it is.
John's here in the real synchronistic time, the time in which a lot of stuff is really developed. Because everything that's been leading up to this. And so it's just great to be present, me personally. So maybe I'm gonna pop that door open.
Oh, it's gonna walk over.
Okay. Okay. I don't need to title this anything. There's basically a few things going on right now in the world, and people definitely need to be informed. But this is also like, honestly, you can, if you can read the signs enough, you already know what this is about. You would know that this is what you're still yet to believe, which is that you are here to save the world for real, like the real thing. I was even thinking that the word save, actually I want to, my middle name is Evan, so you can actually spell save in there. So I think eventually you just start getting knowledgeable about all this stuff, and it's all about whether you're going to do it or not. So the first thing to do is just to jump right into the current. Like if you're gonna get into this and you're gonna help people, then you got to go where they're at. So there's two things. Actually, there's three things right now. There's Olympics. There's the my pet goat situation. Two, actually, who knows where number one is?
Right? Why did they bring out two?
I don't know what Luis is up to. That's Luis. His name is Luis.
I know, that's true.
I don't know what Luis is up to at this point. So he's in the know.
He's in the know.
And he did email me back.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I told him that, we would like to do some script authentication, which is basically when someone moves in, like they did on the series Lost, they have occult people that move in and authenticate the script. So someone writes a script and then they send it to this authenticator that says, can you make sure that this is astrologically right, astronomically right, that these numbers are the numbers to use. The Hollywood people, of course, are like superstitious.
Oh, really?
So there's three things that you should watch out for. Superstition, gambling, drinking. Because the pH balance thing. It's not even how you act. Like there's other things that don't mess with your pH balance that have you crazier than drinking, but drinking is just a pH balance thing. And then of course all these tend to run into each other. So anyway, to keep going with this, we have the Olympics and we have I My Pet Go, whatever. And then there's one more thing here, and I'll remember that in just a minute. But with the Olympics, of course, since it's this week, you got a lot of people tuning in and they want to hear about the mass occult ritual. But is it just me, or is everyone seeing a trend here that it seems like the only thing is to just get people scared and get them thinking something's going to happen and suck all their energy, which we know it does, and then that's it. And then next
suck up.
That's what the ritual is. You see what I mean? You understand what I mean, John?
Yeah.
Like the ritual in itself is to get everyone scared and get all their energy. So it's almost like this whole coming out and explaining what's going on in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think you were at one of your shows. You explained it to some lady who called in. I remember.
Yeah, I mean, she called in about some stuff in regards to the Olympics.
It's like the bomb.
Yeah, and I did explain to her then, like it's the same thing. Even if the bomb doesn't go off, they still got enough energy from everyone to make it like it's gone off. So it's really basically time to stop playing this game. And it's time to actually turn this kind of stuff 180 degrees. So you can actually show people what is really going on, but on a level that empowers them. And so this is now what I'm calling, I got a new term today, negative grounding. It's now time for people to put negative where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be down there. That's the ground. Mm-hmm. But people got negative up here. So they're screwing their system up because if you put negative where positive is, short circuit. Mm-hmm. So that's more than likely what's going on in the corpus callosum. And that's why I believe also on the I My Pet Go, he shows this symbol here. And then the Draco, of course. Oh, we're going to draw him today.
Oh, the dragon on the next side.
He's on that side. Right? So it's obviously the short circuiting because you got two poles just right on top of each other, just like anything that works in reality. So what I believe how we should do all of this is, first of all, I have already 72 individual clippings of this movie, screen by screen, ready to go. Like what we're going to explain to it. It was something that when the movie first came out, I was going to do something right then. And I even put a whole day into it and got a lot together. And then I started realizing how massive the project was. Because even when I started to try to explain the goat situation with everyone, that's what actually made me descend back into the whole Mudalara chakra again. In fact, it was this movie that made me, again, dive back into the root chakra for another ring of learning what was going on. Because then I had to explain the symbolism to a point where everyone understood. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's an uncomfortable subject anyway. So that's kind of what got me investigating a little bit more on that, because I was going through this movie and I got to the first scene, which is the goat. So I was like, okay, I got to explain this to everyone. Damn, that's a lot to try to explain as the first thing. So then what it caused me is to basically figure out everything that was going on with that situation, and then it began Muladhara chakra. So in order to not make this only exclusive to this particular publication, because we do need to maximize what we're doing with all of the data that we're putting out, I really want to roll this whole thing into how we end up connecting the resistance as far as what's in the site. And I believe Matter is a really good resource for this, because he's got a very broad idea of what is in the resistance, plus he can definitely get that kind of access. So there's certain people that we can definitely put on this project, but what it is as we start writing this stuff and it starts to go live, we inserted parts in order to not make this like a never-ending story. We link it to something else. So if we say, okay, if you need to understand the ascension process, then you kind of link, or etymology and why we are using the words this way, then you go to, groups, etymology and ciphering. So what this does is that this creates a link within the post that actually goes to something else with the real keyword, and this even allows us to dominate the search engine more than we are. Right now, we're dominating search engines we're all organic too, but we're pulling it all in because because you notice how Bibliotheca Plates is coming up #1 on the search engines now, but before they were no one was even paying attention to them because they have duplicate content. And now Google doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'll get you to your relevancy. So because I guess the Coda Matrix is on there and there's some backlinking going on there, then boom, we're getting tons of traffic on major keywords, at least on the first page. So we want to start linking this stuff in now, because our site, if you look at a post, there's no links at all. It's just pure post. But if you go to other people's site and you look at their posts, they got links everywhere. Even people who don't even belong to the site are linking. So, or have an interest in what the site is doing are linking. So we definitely need to get the linking, and that's going to give us the strength that we need.
Is it possible for us to create a box under the actual post box, an individual box, so we could just dump links in?
Well, that's when you kind of get hit with Black Hat. The links really kind of gotta, you can do that one guy in Search of the Black Assassin website. Okay, you see how on the bottom you just link.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Oh, okay.
And then just tie it into keywords. But the best thing is to a couple of links, or all links go to other places, basically.
Okay. Outside of the resistance or within the resistance?
In and out. If it's
okay.
content that can really get sourced from somewhere else, like Wikipedia, and we don't have anything on our site related to it, we want to get something in there.
Okay.
And this will go out to a lot of the members too, or the people that are functioning inside as far as the moderators. And they can figure out what part of this they want to get involved in. So this is how also we're actually in the Olympics too. I love the way people just watch what's going on in the world and don't realize that they're actually
in the Olympics. Yeah.
So it's the tryouts right now, and we're being staged to perform. And by all means, we will do our best, and that's a lot. So what we really want to do with this Olympic energy that's coming through is we want to really get people in the know and have them now start to ground the negative, and then also keeping their positive energy, because now the positive energy is at stake. I 100% tell everyone there's what did they raise the terror alert? With color red? I think
yeah,
orange.
yeah, exactly. No, red.
Red? Okay, yes, the highest.
Yeah, it's the highest.
We love that. Okay, it's orange
Yeah.
now because energy vampires everywhere. Everyone is upset. People spend about 80% of their day upset.
When they have a bunch of troops on the ocean, like it's out of hand how much attention they're putting or emphasis on the whole terrorist agenda.
20% happy, and this is only when they get something.
Wow.
Yeah, like when they get it satisfied their
And
desire.
then what comes generally behind that is the complaint. So they're back here, guys. It was great, it was good, but it was cold. Maybe next time they could bring it a little earlier. It's gone too far. Like I've been watching these clips because I'm now in the know about completely how the world is set up. So I'm watching these clips from Liberia and it's off the chain. Like it's a whole nother diameter. The mother, several mothers have been raped and they have the baby. And they don't even know who the father is. And then now how they're going to explain that to that baby? Yeah, you came here because... So what it looks to me is that if you get caught in a vortex, like there's lots of people down here doing all sorts of vortex related things to each other. And it becomes very difficult to get out. And because we're not in that situation, and most people that will be viewing our content are not in that situation, they have to be very aware that this situation exists because this is not a game. Like I'm even a lot more serious and a lot more grounded now because I see this everywhere, but I also see what causes this. And it has a lot to do with, again, first, ungratefulness. That's where it starts. Because most people are not here, but they're ungrateful. So ungratefulness eventually gets you here because it's complaining. It's negativity. So it'll eventually pull you down. That's the conclusion of it. So no more to be said about that. What happens with this post is that it moves slow because, for instance, in the first scene, there's a goat. There's 6 lights, which of course is the sexagram.
And the barcode.
There's the barcode, which is, exactly, and the barcode, which helps to try to tie all that in.
What about the cubes that spell out iPad Go?
Exactly. I'm saying but I would really still look at it as that's their, that's their publication, that's what they put through, so I wouldn't even go that deep, or else you'll be in there. I was looking at it, that's what made me stop, because I was like, man, if I really start going with everything, we'll be here for a long time. Not to mention, it's just like you still have to keep it to the point where it has to be where it just keeps flowing, or else you're just going to have this long video explaining all this stuff. So that's why I said the content's kind of got to be expanded into other things, especially that we have on the site. And especially there has to be stops, like where the person is hearing all this, because now you're having fun telling them about the Go God, but you also don't realize what it's kind of doing to them. So they need that source right away, like positivity.
Well, couldn't we just do that at the end? Like bring them up, like with a...
Well, see, that's the thing. Some don't stay till the end. So if we don't schedule these boost ups intervally, then someone, hey, you ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready.
Well, yeah, you're right. Like, do like 20 seconds of 80% upset, and then boom, throw in the right after something to bring them up. Like, okay, look, this is what they're doing. This is what you should not be falling for.
Right, but honestly, there's one more level to this. I'm starting to see how, you guys in the car. I'm starting to see how it's all who's giving you the definition.
Okay.
Because once you place any information on a person's negative side, it's now in an illusion. Look what actually happens. Negativity is an illusion because it doesn't really exist. So Maya is an illusion. So the whole illusionary plane is what we're talking about in the mysticism. So if you place this back into the illusion, which I think is when they say reveal, I'm going to reveal this to you, which just means to reveal it.
Yeah.
Basically put the cover back over it, meaning whoever's trying to interpret it can't explain it. So they're about to mess it up for you because they can't explain it at all. So now I'm starting to realize, let me explain this. Okay, so the Go Gods, like I said earlier, it's the crescent moon. Crescent moon has to do everything with fertilization on this planet. Like the planet goes absolutely wild during full moon, whether we are in action or not. The planet, the coral, the fish, everyone's like doing it.
Humping it, yeah.
So this horn god is also the mother, which this is the other symbol. because all the matter and all the mass is dense. So it makes the foundation to our world. So anything that's foundation is strong because it can't collapse. So that's why these gods are known to be bull gods. They're very strong, very hard-headed, very dense. And then there's a whole material thing going on with them. They got to have materials and materialistic things. So all this is, though, is because when this took place, these beings, in mankind's history, mankind wasn't even aware of itself as a separate being. It was all still in fertilization inside of this stuff. So for us to get out of this stuff now and then try to act like we can relate to it is going to take some really special relations. So what's happening is a lot of people are choosing, that know the power, know the mysticism, are choosing to go back down the linear portal of time and go to when they were goat god or snake. And then bring this energy all the way back into the time they are now. So then they become the snake-headed man or the goat-headed man. And that's why they're showing you the symbols like that, because these are just the different people that have taken on certain traits from their development and then brought it into now this complex body that we're using. So what I'm seeing here is that if you notice, there's a positive and a negative side to every chakra. Like, I'm sure there's a positive and negative side to time, and that's what these clocks are really about. So because of all of that, it's important for us to still highlight what is the positive and negative to this. Just like the Kabbalah is like, oh, where does it go pull? You're telling me all the good stuff, but what is the bad side? Well, there's this. You got to get to that point with people. So with this, of course, the bad side has been highlighted already. This is Saturn. Saturn has a pole like this. Exactly, because Saturn is a cedar. Well, that's octagon. Saturn is a cedar, so this means Saturn also went through this process itself. It's a cube, of course. So it's a matrix, it's a womb too. So all suns seem to do this. This is Sa. What we're calling suns, this planet was more than likely at a sun state at some point and became a womb, dropped seeds onto a matrix too. Now it's moved out of position. Then the new sun comes in and basically does the same thing. Like every time we put the camera up to there, every time it looks like this. The lights are thrown off just like that, showing that they're still related. And this one's dropping seeds too, dropping photon energy. And then it's off. But because of it's almost like because no one can control that, they consider that a beast. Because it's like, he's dropping seeds and no one can stop him. The sun's shining and no one can stop it. You see what I mean? It's like known to have so much energy that people can't stop the sun from shining tomorrow. So this is why these core elemental principles are always looked at as such. So what happens is by the time the controllers explain this to everyone, it gets an entirely different bag, and we got to stop that from happening. It becomes the Pandora's box for many individuals, because once they start interpreting something the wrong way in the beginning, it becomes a snowball effect of continuously interpreting things wrong.
And that's what we were talking, that I feel like this whole thing with the eye that you were mentioning, or no one can sustain the beauty of Maya or the illusion. It has to be what goes on in the black hole. You get me? Because they say that what goes on right in the rim of the black hole is complete perfection. So we get captivated by that Pandora's box, the next illusion. You get me? The next thing that they're gonna unveil. So, if, for example,
exactly.
if we let them, they're just gonna take us into another Pandora's box.
Exactly, which is like a daily thing.
Yeah.
Because this is also what this Olympics is. Notice how there's tons of people interpreting the symbolism, but when they interpret, it's just Satan, 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 Satan. So when a person does that, and then another person reads it, there's really only one thought in their mind after they get off of the phone or get off of the YouTube line. So what is supposed to happen to the person then? There's only certain things that can happen, and one is going to heavily have to do with that particular entity. So if the person then believes, and now you can see why misinterpretation and disinformation is the major part of what the government's involved in secret societies with this internet, is because now, imagine that everyone thinks that the leaders are Satan. Mm-hmm. Now, then this is now they They could have been just opportunists, but now they're Satan. They have now all the power of Satan. You see, I mean, before they didn't have that kind of power. So notice how through history what they've been trying to do is push a lot of power into one point. Having everyone's intention focusing on one point. And then they build up this mass of energy, and then what they do is once it gets big enough, they direct it to themselves.
Similar to what the
You see how it works?
the box in Mecca does, right? That's
Exactly.
what they say.
The same thing that the box in Mecca does. It's like a dark space accumulator.
Yeah, exactly.
Now look, even in Abjad, Ba, which is the second letter of the language, which of course in Kabbalah means house, comes out as this. It says it means impure dot in Abjad, which is Hebrew Kabbalah. And then they say that they circumambulate this thing, but the reason why it turned black, because of the sins of the world. That's what the story is, right? So to them, this is the impure dot, or the house, as it is in Kabbalah. Now, of course, this is the house because we just showed everyone that this is the symbol of a womb or a matrix of the Drunvalo's flower of life stuff. So it's like, when are we going to get to a point where we can take this symbolism for everyone and start really interpreting it? That's a really wild flower right there. We really start interpreting it for what it really is. So now, and this of course is called the Kaaba. So the impure dot. And then so now they have all these people contemplating, the sins of the world, the sins of myself. And then it gets massively accumulated here. So finally when they say, who is this? Then they drain out energy. So all lifetime, they say this is a lifeline. And these are the Time Lords working in time and saying, it's Satan. He's the one to be afraid of. And it starts here, that's Satan. He's the one to be afraid of. Then finally, when they mass accumulate enough people believing that Satan is ultimately the one to be afraid of, then they say he's Satan. And this is what I think that the world is on the brink of actually doing. This is what they're probably talking about when they're going to bring in this new king or
The litter, the
right?
horn god, but they're gonna depict it inside a human vessel.
Exactly. It's just someone, who knows?
Who knows?
But and if it may even happen or not, that's the other thing, because obviously this mass accumulator has a lot to do, because this is the real illusion. This can be dissipated in one day. One bad email could screw all this up, and that's what they know. They know that if they worked for a whole timeline to increase the power into one thing, and then someone happens to deflate that, just like a meteor can, and that's what I think you're seeing at the end of the My Pet Goat. You see a meteor hit the top of the pyramid crumbles.
Yeah, and then the whole system falls. The other pyramids just fall on their own.
Exactly. This means starseed coming in so powerful that it just deflates all of the negative force. And then thus, at that point, all the negative force is actually used for the ground that it needs to be in order to catapult us to where we need to go. So this is what we're talking about. We're just going to give everyone opportunity. Now here's the thing.
Damn, this is good.
I would assume, again, because this is by contact, from what I experienced, when one person goes into the right high vibratory frequency, when they touch the person next to them, they go in too, regardless of what state they're at. So there's still a good chance that even some of the craziest people out here will go into their next stage of awakening. However, as one who deals with both sides of things, I will also take note that there are individuals that are in this world that are doing things that by traditional way of how we generally can fix a person, which is by talking to them and hoping that they listen to the knowledge and graduate. They're way beyond that. Like, they don't want to hear anything you really have to say. They don't even have the capacities to listen, because where they are is down here. And where they actually reside, whether, I won't even talk about what time of life it occurred, but if they're in a human body, but where they're actually speaking from is somewhere down here. And because, like I said, thought doesn't come into you get way up here, then they're devoid of thought. They don't really think like we do. That's why you say, man, I don't even know how they can do that, because they're not thinking from that center. Now, here's another thing that's good for a lot of us, just to keep continuously reinforcing yourself at times. If you can think from here, this means you've already went around before. there's already been lifetimes past. Because if you're a thinker, you've now moved completely up to where thought wasn't even in effect. You do have examples here of yourself, as we say, all is self, when you didn't know at all. Like you didn't have any fact, knowing wasn't even a part of this. And that's why I like walking back through the way Earth was created, because there's a lot of times where what allowed us to remain collective is we didn't, like there was no thinking at all. There was no, I'm over here, I'm over there, I'm with them, there was none of that. We were just a mass. Just like an egg, when it's in that yolk, it's not thinking. Not thinking in the sense of how we think. It's in mitosis. The thinking is already being done for it. And where I think that happens is from, as we know now, we have societies in the future and the past that have already developed. So I think what we should work on as a project, and this is being the first video of how we introduce a project, but what we should work on as a project is we should take the documentation that's already been put together on this. We should do some taping on the conversation on this. Maybe another rendition of exactly what I just explained. We take this video right here apart and then shoot it again on the board, then with the pictures and everything, and we kind of work on that on the side. And I think that what that'll allow us to do is it'll allow us to catch up to a lot of where these other forces now, you can't stop the camera there and start it again because it are forces. Now here's what I've witnessed now. I was on World Star Hip Hop. First of all, if you ever want to find the evil one himself, you just go to World Star Hip Hop. The horns, okay? Now, they had a video with Snoop Dogg, okay? And he was with this guy called The President. And this guy, The President, is a new rapper.
Yeah.
Right? But these are real street guys. Like,
Yeah.
you know the difference. Like, if you've ever been in the street before, you know there's this one guy, he's like a pretender, and you can kind of see it. And then there's this other guy, he's a killer, and you just kind of avoid him because you know, you can see in his face that there's the childhood problems and different things like that, right? So the President's one of those guys. And his entourage. And then they come right from some lower level of the system. Actually, Texas. There's a lot of guys coming out of Texas. Why? Because Texas is the Lone Star. They are the Longhorn themselves. The cult transfer into Texas. That's why they deal with oil, right? Notice how they deal with the oil, like the Easterners deal with the oil. And then everywhere else in the United States, there's very little oil, right? So, you know, it doesn't take...
Yeah. No, it's true. Because even in Canada, right, in Calgary, it's the same thing. That's where we get the oil.
Yeah.
And if you look at Calgary,
They don't
it's
really...
like Texas.
Okay.
Like they wear...
Shoot, and there it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
There we go again.
And then that, yeah, that's it right there. As in calf. Baby cow. No baby cow. See, this problem that we have going on here on Earth is basically what's holding us up from this heavy level of expansion with the expanded universe. Like, because it's obvious to me, obviously, that there's lots of stuff to do in space. Meaning that all this and opening this and being able to pass through the right portals to go to the higher frequencies of this, obviously it's so expansive. I want my child there. That's really where I'm at now with this. It's like, I stopped putting it like, I want to go there. Because I think all the people that developed something major didn't need the... Some people want to feel the goodness why they live. It's like, who wants to celebrate, who wants everyone to celebrate them when they're dead? People try to do things right now so they can get fame and recognition now. But that's not how our fathers were. Whatever they did, they built. They knew it was going to take several lifetimes. That's why they kept passing the mantle. They were like, okay, son, it's your turn now. And then after 3 generations, it should like pan out. So what's happening for us is that honestly, man, I see clearly that this system has kept running for a long time, but it should have been upgraded a long time ago. Like, even, again, this 12 zodiac system is extreme limitation, but you always see this 12 different, you always see this 12 type of geometry in a lot of the places that are like the institutionalized, governmentalized. It's like a system that they know how to use, so they don't want to upgrade. That's what I believe is actually happening. That they know with the 12-bit, call it, by the way, bit is something you put in the cow pump. But with a 12-bit system, it's like they don't have to worry about losing control.
Right.
But remember, there was this one document, and it's on Bibliotheca Plagueis, and it's one of those numbers documents. Like the guy, he says he's from, he's pulling back ancient Lemurian and Atlantean numbers, etc. And what he says, he comes to the conclusion, is that the Melchizedeks were using this cube through the calculations of the same thing of what a computer skips through, 8, or 4, 8, 16, 32, those bits, right? And what happened was when they got to a certain number, who knows what it was, it could have been 144,000, I guess, in this sequence.
Yeah.
Then these anomalies started happening. The numbers basically started birthing numbers that they didn't really even put into the equation. And you know what they call it in Tron? Isotopes. They're like basically when the system gets to this level, they can't control it, and then these integers that they have not calculated because somehow they come from out of the calculation start coming in, and then they can't control what's going on at all.
The isotopes were the people that were inside the Tron world, right? That they came out of nowhere.
Exactly. And the girl was the last
anomaly.
one, and then the guy killed the rest of them.
Yeah.
So what's really going on here is that when it remains on this system, it's going to always be an extreme limitation. And for them, just like when you go into the old Victorian homes, especially in England, they have a lot of old stuff. It's like they're stuffed up. It's like they keep the old yard oil and the granddaddy's rug and the flags and then the wards and heads of animals that the great-great-granddad killed, and it's like stuff everywhere. So this is what I call 12-bit. It's like you just want to keep what you have right there, and then everything that you collect in your life, and you want to just get in there and just start to suffocate you. And you never realize that 12-bit is like a small chip now. And there was way more that you could have really took in. It's just they didn't want you to get beyond 100, and they could not operate the system. Because what is 12 by 12? It's 144,000. It's the 144. It's the limit of their mathematics, really, of being able to control. This is why they never introduced They never introduced this. They not because the next one to them means a problem. So this is why the people who are not afraid to die always get the furthest, because in the life and the death thing, this is where the fear comes in, because the person is just basically, if you try to kill a person, watch what they do. Like they go into a whole nother thing, right? So this is what they really desire the most, even over food and everything else, is just to live. Even when you're starving, you're still alive. So that means that's the last thing to go. This is what you're really holding on to. So those who are not afraid to die, the reality has no real bearing and control over them. And this is why in these organizations, they teach them also how not to be afraid to die. I didn't tell you that the good people were the 13. What I said is that it means a certain thing. It means not afraid to die. And because they have people trained not afraid to die,
yeah, you just, I remember you're saying it's not even trying to, no, it's kind of like you can get stuck in that idea of good or bad, but it's just not about good or bad.
Yeah, it's just principles.
Yeah, people are just, like you said, trained to do certain things.
Exactly.
And they just have the knowledge.
Exactly. And the technique.
Yeah.
Because it's really the technique. The knowledge can't be held. That's like me telling you, hey man, I got 1,000 apples.
Right.
But they're not here. But I need the money now. That's knowledge. You know I got 1,000 apples. You know if you give me the money, you'll get them, but they're not here. To me, technique is the apples are here, for better lack of words. It's like you now have the other part of it, because realistically, just because we know something doesn't mean that we can do anything about it. Just because we know even about DMT doesn't mean we can synthesize DMT.
Yeah,
it's just the next thing.
That's on every. You can see that like just everywhere. Like when you do something, when you first stumble on something, it's easy to just not figure it out, but it's more like that insight is, it's there, but then you gotta actually,
the journey.
put it to application or something. It's just
you gotta go on the journey.
Yeah,
It's physicality. And so here's what they're also saying. because they say this is the symbol of when you've actually really achieved the higher state of consciousness, is that what happens is that all of there's ideas, okay, there's ideas here, and this region, we'll say this is the navel, so, and then I guess, yeah, this will be the penis, just to make sure you draw this out properly. Like here, this is, actually the shape is like this. Excuse me. Let me get my geometry right, sorry guys. My geometry right that way, like, I know it! He's making the bottom up! Okay, so it's this, and then it's this. And then they say it's this. So this is what becomes a powerful symbol right here, right? This thing. And I've seen it in a couple places, but this is it. Okay. Because this can't be forgot about. Like, there's this intersection before these two. You basically are like here, responsible for determining who's going to go down here and who's going to come up here. Okay. But each time one goes down and comes up, it does make this symbol, to make it simple. Because it means now, it's now conjoined, like it had sex, right? Or six. So it had six. And so this also means that there was a conflict there, though. Because anytime these two poles have to join, because they're opposing poles, it ain't gonna happen easily.
Friction.
Yeah, there's gonna be arguments. So this is what we're talking about now. Of course, this point gets us to what Willem Swart was saying about how you have to realize that 6 is there because of 5, and 5 is there because of 4. You have to figure out how they connect. So there's this dot that's created after these two finally, when they connect, then from the center, this thing comes out. And they also said this is how Earth came out. Next thing you know, we got the water planet, right? So when this comes out next, this is 7. Okay, now this also gets us to what's going on with the God of the Bible and why the God of the Bible is so crazy. It's actually in the story of Final Fantasy of Sephiroth.
It's making more sense just the way you just drew it out. It was kind of like,
I think that's why we got to get on this board more.
Yeah,
We should put this for at least the
little intro to what we're doing. Yeah, I don't mind. So okay, so you see this Sephiroth's story is that he finds out that he was created.
Yeah, using that Genova.
Right. From the Genova, which in this case Genova is Jupiter, which is just the other name for Jupiter. But Jupiter blown up. That's the thing. All the seeds Jupiter. So what Sephiroth's situation is that he's been birthed through perfection to be like a perfect, and he's just still trying to figure it out. He believes that he was bred to be the killer. And then when he did, because that's what he was doing before. Now notice this is almost humanity's story, because they've been killing all these animals and killing each other. So it's like literally they've been domesticated and bred to do something very destructive. So then when they figure out that they're just a creation, which is what they're figuring out now, some take this and think negative, and then with all of this power and energy, they go and they're destroying everything like it's Sephiroth's problem.
Then it's the Final Fantasy is 7.
Exactly.
7.
They're not. Exactly. And then comes Cloud.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Cloud is of course, the one that is not confined to the lower regions.
Right.
And so, just not to get too far into this, what we're still seeing again is that this is this. Because we're only talking about just the beginning. We're just talking about the key forces of what happened. And that's what the guy said at the end of the document. He said, in the end, and you could tell he knew everything. He didn't know. Not the guy who made the movie, another guy. He said, in the end, the troubles is that if mankind and woman never realize that symbol alone, just this one, the ark, if they didn't realize that it was just about the nature's forces and how nature's forces come about. Now, we're explaining how nature's forces come about. I didn't say you could control these yet. Right. So notice how in the Code of Mithras, they're on the bull. everywhere you go in the next level of the occult, which is everything about this world, they're trying to slay the bull. This is the bullfighting. This is where it comes from the cult of Mithras, which is originally stems from the cult of Zoroastrian, where it's Ahura Mazda versus Angra Mainya, and Angra Mainya's got the horns, and Ahura Mazda's grabbing him up. Even in the Sumerian text, you see Nimrod, he's got that thing in his hand, that's not his pet. It's another beast that he's choking. So what they show you is the next level was these beings. See now, because remember, I'm trying to explain to you according to Sephiroth and Cloud now, but I'm actually explaining to you something that already happened.
Right.
So what actually happened is this is what was the Venus. The seventh planet, or this number 7, does correspond to Venus. It's like that next level.
That's going to Venus?
I'm going to show you exactly why it is. It's when the 6s were with the 7s. Now, in old days, if you go talk to any old people, they'll tell you something, they'll talk about a saying that they have, and it says, you got your 6s with your 7s. And it means that these two numbers were so close together back in the past, they were actually synonymous for one another. Like for some reason, 6 and 7 through every single old book you go through were together. So what are they saying? 6, which in this case we'll say is Saturn, hooked up with 7, which of course is Venus, and then there was a seed, 8. Now these two forces just, hanging out together has never been like, it's like two opposing zodiacs. And this is what the universe loves to do also. It loves to stick the most conflictive with each other. So because they know the product of that is going to be just like with any genetic experiment. You have a broad band of genetic, or a broad band of genes. It's like hundreds, thousands of genes in there. So even though they're fighting this stuff, whatever comes out of it is going to be a lot more complex than if you just put 2 genes in there that get along with each other.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like permutations, combinations, whatever.
Exactly.
Talk about mathematically, but intuitively, just say something, it's kind of like the gradients, just, there's so much. I can see it, I just can't explain it.
I mean, that's what we're here for. I mean, we're here to see it and explain it.
That's right.
That's because this is how difficult it is. Like, imagine when I try to get to explain it. It's like, I forgot my last idea. Oh, right here. But it's like, when I can get in front of this board, it happens a lot better. So, notice the 8. And this is also this octagon situation, which we'll get into later. Because now, what I've discovered is that basically, the death component comes in now. Because remember, most of the beings before all this were not really conscious of death. They were really more like pro-life.
Right.
So more than likely, 1, 2, 3, and 4 live up here. They don't even know about death.
Mm-hmm.
While 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all about death. You see what I mean? They seem to have incorporated it within their cycle because notice 5 is a pentagram. They're fighting it all the time. 6 is now this conflict, and then 7 is like what I explained to you today. That the babies, the mother has birthed a baby that she was raped and had that baby. Mm-hmm. Where does that archetype exist? Right. See, the only thing, like I said before, people realize the power of the knowledge of understanding. The only thing that's here on 3D is what we unpacked, meaning it's what we bought here. Anything that we haven't bought here is not here yet. Everything else is inside of us, and we're just waiting on the shipment of ourselves. Like, for you to fully realize that your cargo is here. So with the 7 component, of course, well, what I was saying is the reason why that archetype exists on the world is because this marriage was by force. Like, this is why they have the story of this virgin who has to take on this being that she doesn't even like. Mm-hmm. And they talk about it all the time, especially in a lot of the stories of the kings and queens of the old days. And not even the kings and queens, but before that. Like even the Mayan princesses and different people or women, virgins, or the seed of the tribes, having to go in with other tribe members. What they're calling is colonization. It's 7.
The coal again, the cow.
It's a scythe. So this scythe was originally used to like cut down the thing. So it's all about cutting down, but all of this conflict is created 8.
Is that why they in the movie Pecco they show when the apple rolls out, they show a scythe they show like a smear of the shoe on the floor that is like a 7, an upside down 7 or an L, and then it's a C next to it, another
Exactly.
smudge.
And that's definitely it right there. That's definitely it. And here's another thing, the moons, just so people understand where the moon comes in at, the moon is an archive. What an archive is the place that holds the previous souls. Mm-hmm. And this is why they say the moon is like a ghost. It's where the ghost spell comes from in the Bible, the 2 bulls, the ghost spell. It's because the previous beings that were here before, which are obviously not here now. Like, think about it.
I gotta find you that clip. Because we're on the Final Fantasy thing.
Right.
I don't know why.
I'm sure if we play it back.
No, this is one clip in the 4th Final Fantasy. The ending of it, they're from the moon.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta find that clip.
You gotta find
that clip. It's kind of
because I mean I would even like to take this conversation, maybe repair the audio a little bit and get it out there.
Yeah.
But okay, so the moon, of course, is the archive. So it keeps. That's why it's got so much dents and conflict within it.
Right.
It keeps the previous souls. They live there. Now, what they're telling me is, once they leave the moon, they then once they left the moon, like okay, because obviously we're in several successions of mankind.
Okay.
Right? So the other ones went to the moon. One section of them, we won't say which ones, but previously in the beginning, one went up there. Then these ones that die, basically, and don't have any spiritual knowledge and died in conflict, get then shipped to Mars, the planet of conflict. Mm-hmm. And basically keep this cycle going from the moon to Earth to Mars. Yep. And this keeps it going because if you leave Earth, this is why though. If you leave Earth and you're conflicted, the frequency sends you to Mars, and that's why the pyramid is there and the pyramid is here. There's 2 exact pyramids. So this, what would this be like? Let's just talk about it from, if we were the scientists in there, and if I say, hey John, it appears that I was scanning our planet, and there is actual temple structures and complex designs, and not only that, there's an exact map of it, the exact duplicate on the other planet that's right next to us. What do you think's going on? I mean, I think I can probably go and ask the baby. The baby will say they're jumping.
Just like in that John Carter movie.
Yeah, they're jumping.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I'm making 2 of the exact duplicates. Now, what did they say about Sharia Varman and the temples in Angkor Wat that were constellations of Orion? He was building heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the case, then why was it so important for him to finish the temple within a certain time? And he said that he was also going to he killed some people just to take them with him. What really happened? It's easy to see that that was the gate. Mm-hmm. That all the time those beings used that compound to go back up to their constellation and then come back down. So who's there? Naga. Who was in Angkor Wat?
And they're
Naga.
coming back, that's why they built it.
I don't know if they're coming back. Like, see, people wish they would come back. That's what's happening. We don't know how long this structure has been shut down. This is what the evidence of the Matrix shows now. The evidence of the Matrix, if I was to examine any crime scene, shows tampering. So at this point, all the evidence is really contaminated. I can't even say that these individuals will be coming back. Because I have another group of individuals, just known as Zion, that love to run false operations to suck energy out of people and of things that are not even going to happen. Like the biggest one of all. People are hanging on the Olympics, people are hanging on 2012, but this one was bigger than all of them.
Oh yeah.
It was bigger than all of them. I don't care what they say. That's when the world actually went like this. Because they thought that this point right here, because go to Google, you gotta be getting this.
Yeah.
Go to Google and type in Prince, and then hit the images, and tell me if you get the guy from England, or if you get the guy